The February 11th, 2025 regular meeting of the Everett Public Schools Board of Directors is hereby called to order. We'll begin with the land acknowledgement. Student Representative Ms. Covarrubias.
We acknowledge the original inhabitants of this area, the Stahobes people, and their successors, the Tulalip tribes. Since time immemorial, they have hunted, fished, gathered on, and taken care of these lands and water. We respect their sovereignty, their right to self-determination, and honor their sacred spiritual connection with the land and water. In Everett Public Schools, we strive to create equitable outcomes and build a culture of inclusive belonging for all students, teachers, staff, and community.
Thank you. Would everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? And unless you're in uniform, please remove your hat.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will the secretary please call the roll?
President Mitchell.
Present.
Vice President Herman.
Present.
Director Revelinsky.
Present.
Director Mason.
Present.
Director Atkins.
Present.
Student Representative King.
Present.
Student Representative Covarrubias.
Present.
Thank you. And Dr. Saltzman, were there any changes to the agenda after it was published?
Yes, Madam Chair, Board of Directors, and the public, there has been one change to the agenda. Item 13.01, December 2024 Financial Report. The presentation was updated. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any objection to the meeting agenda being adopted by general consent? Seeing none, the agenda is adopted by general consent. That takes us to our favorite part of the meeting, which is recognitions and celebrations. So, Ms. Weinberg, would you please introduce our first event?
Yes, good evening. Thank you, President Mitchell, Board of Directors, Dr. Saltzman, and our student representatives. We are thrilled to have Jackson High School Honors Chamber Orchestra here to perform with us this evening. To share more about this talented group, I would like to introduce Craig Schell, Choir Director and Performing Arts Lead at Jackson High School.
Thank you so much. Thank you, President Mitchell, Board of Directors, Dr. Saltzman, and our student representatives. Today, I'm here on behalf of my colleague, Melanie West, the orchestra teacher at Jackson High School, who is currently in Utah visiting her grandson that was born on Saturday. The Jackson High School Honors Chamber Orchestra is the top auditioned orchestra at the school with an emphasis on high-level playing. This 13-member ensemble placed third in the Western Washington University Orchestra Festival last year. Over the weekend, this group won the large string ensemble category of our regional solo and ensemble competition, and 3 of these students won their soloist categories. They will be heading to the state solo and ensemble competition at the end of April. Today, they will play the first movement of the Serenade for Strings by Suk.
Wow, thank you so much for giving us that wonderful performance. Next, Ms. Grant, I believe you have quite, or Ms. Weinberg, you're going to start this?
Yes,
There's
I
so
will.
many families here.
I know, this is so exciting. So thank you again, President Mitchell, Board of Directors, Dr. Saltzman, and our student representatives. Tonight, we have the honor of recognizing the winners of the 2025 Prodigies for Peace competition. And I think we have a lot of amazing students in the room for that. To share more about this meaningful competition and introduce our outstanding winners, I'd like to welcome our Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, Joy Odom Grant.
Good evening, Director Tracy Mitchell, Board of Directors, our student representatives, and Dr. Salzman. I bring you joy. I am so happy and thrilled. Congratulations again, Jackson High School. My name is Joy Odom Grant, and I am the Director of the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Department here in Everett. This year, the Snohomish County Black Heritage Committee held at the community celebration honoring Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and the NAACP Black History Month on January 19th. I'm going to rewind that. The Snohomish County Black Heritage Committee held a community celebration honoring Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and NAACP Black History Month on January 19th. As part of the celebration, students were invited to submit essays and art for the 24th annual Prodigies of Peace competition. The Prodigies for Peace Writing and Art Contest helps students draw connections between the people and the events that shaped the civil rights movement and the social issues that influence their lives today. The essay question asks students to describe what they could do for others that will continue Dr. King's message of equality and justice for all. Members of the community judge the students' work. Students earning first, second, third, and honorable mention awards in each grade band and each creative category are honored for their inspirational works at the community celebration. This year, Everett Public Schools had 12 winners throughout Snohomish County for their essays and 28 winners for their artwork. Tonight, our regional superintendents, Dr. Kathy Woods and Dr. Pete Meisner, are honored to recognize the 2025 Prodigies for Peace winners. At this time, I would like Dr. Kathy Woods and Dr. Pete Meisner recognize our winners.
Thank you very much. Thank you, President Mitchell, Board of Directors, Dr. Salzman, student representatives. It is indeed quite an honor to introduce and recognize the students from Region 1 who are able to be here tonight and were winners in this contest. We did have essay winners and art winners who were unable to attend, but I would like to recognize those who are here tonight. First, Tran Pham, honorable mention from Whittier Elementary School. All right. Jojo Herrera, honorable mention for art from View Ridge Elementary School.
Did you hear? Come on up.
Come on up. Come on up here. I'm going to give you this, and we're going to stay right up here until everybody comes up, and then we'll do a picture, okay? All right, and then Augie Woods, also honorable mention, also from View Ridge Elementary School.
Is Augie here? Yeah.
Okay, and I'll invite Dr. Meisner to come and introduce the Region 2 recipients.
All right, thank you, Kathy.
Very excited to be here to introduce to you Region 2 recipients. I'd like to begin by inviting Sarah O to come on up to the front. Sarah, a third grader at Mill Creek Elementary School, is a third place essay winner and a third place winner in art. Congratulations to Sarah. You take those. All right, next I'd like to introduce Vian Killerwalla, third grader, or Vian, excuse me, is a fifth grader at Forest View Elementary School and a third place essay winner. Congratulations. Next, Gia Walia, an eighth grader at Gateway Middle School, is a first place essay winner. Congratulations. Lynn Liu, an eighth grader at Gateway Middle School, is a second place essay winner. Vivan Rajun, an eighth grader at Gateway Middle School, is a second place essay winner. Congratulations. Okay. Janvi Gupta, a first grader at Silver Firs Elementary School, is a third place winner in art. Congratulations. Next is Soleil Solberry, a second grader at Mill Creek Elementary School, is an honorable mention winner in art. Benji Kim, a fifth grader at Mill Creek Elementary School, is a first place winner in art. Benji. Next is Shrestha Shetty. Shrestha is a fifth grader at Tambar Creek Elementary School, second place winner in art. Congratulations. Shreya Pradeep. Shreya is a, oh, hang on here, sorry. Skipping down. Here she is. Are you back here? Yeah, sorry about that. Shreya Pradeep, an eighth grader at Gateway Middle School, first place winner in art. And our last recipient tonight, Aaron Lee, an eighth grader at Gateway Middle School, is the second place winner in art. Congratulations, Aaron. Did we get everybody here? You got all that checked in? Okay, great.
So if you are here and didn't get called, we just didn't get your names marked off, come on up here and either Dr. Meisner or I will present your certificate.
Thurav Gupta, a sixth grader at Gateway Middle School, third place essay winner. Congratulations.
Now we're going to do the photo opportunity. So parents, you are welcome to get up here too. I'm going to have you guys come a little farther. Can I have you here, switch down? Spot right up there. Yep.
So not very tall yet. Caption. And we will stand here as long as all the cameras are going. Got some on the edge. Can you get the eighth graders on the edge?
Go, parents. Stay there smiling. Parents. Great.
Congratulations, everybody.
And as much as we are here to serve you, you do not need to stay. You can go home and enjoy family time. And last but not least, Ms. Weinberg, you have one.
I have
one more.
One more. Thank you to President Mitchell, Board of Directors, Dr. Saltzman, and our student representatives. Our coaches truly make a difference. Kyle Peacock of Jackson High School is no exception. I would like now to invite our Director of Athletics, Danny Mundell, and Jackson High Assistant Principal Eric Hines to recognize Coach Peacock.
We know that Coach Peacock does not like recognition, and so we're going to make him stand up here with us the whole time. Come on up. Good evening, President Mitchell, members of the board, student representatives, and Dr. Saltzman. Thank you for having us tonight. The National Federation of High School Sports has been recognizing the top coaches in the nation by sport since 1982. They evaluate coaches based on the coach's record, membership in professional organizations, involvement with the school and the community, and their coaching philosophy. We're beyond proud to celebrate one of our own as the #1 softball coach in the nation for the NFHS 23-24 award class. Kyle Peacock has served for 25 years as head softball coach for Everett Public Schools, from 2000 to 2011 at Everett High School, and from 2012 to 2024 at Jackson High. He has a career coaching record of 457 wins, 148 losses, including 10 district championships. Under his leadership, his team qualified for the playoffs all 23 years that we were able to have playoffs because of those 2 COVID years. Kyle's team made 16 state appearances, 7 of which were top 4 finishes, and has won 4 state championships in 2018, 2019, 2023, and 2024. He is the only 4A softball coach in Washington state history to achieve 4 state titles. Kyle has won Coach of the Year honors from the Herald, the Seattle Times, the 4A State Washington Coaches Association, Wesco, Everett High Athletics Department, and our own Jackson High Athletics Department 14 times, and we know he is a leader in our state. So to become recognized as the top softball coach in the nation is more than well-deserved. Here with me tonight is our Jackson Assistant Principal and Athletic Director, Eric Hines, to share more about Coach Peacock and his impact at Jackson High.
It's not every day you get to say that you know someone who is the best in the nation at something. You've heard the achievements. I'm sure there's no doubt on how well deserved that this honor is. However, Coach Peacock would be the first to point all credit elsewhere. He would credit his players, he would credit his coaches, he would credit his parents, and as Ms. Mundell alluded to, I know that this whole recognition is probably really uncomfortable for him. But that is what makes him even greater. The humility that Coach Peacock shows amid all of this success that he's experienced in his career. The sharing of this massive success is what inspires me when I think of Kyle, the coach, the teacher, the husband, and the father. Coaching is a tough and sometimes thankless job, and all the more reason that we need to honor and recognize those who do it so well. It is an incredible privilege to continue working with Kyle in his current position of athletic coordinator. He's been an amazing addition to our athletic team. This man has bled black and green throughout his tenure here. He has made JHS athletics and the community as a whole a better place. So we thank him for that.
Thank you. I think I'm a little bit more nervous standing here than I was for the state championship game. Heart's beating a little bit. I just want to say, obviously, thank you to Eric and Danny for the kind words. Thank you to our school board, our superintendent, our school leadership for your continued support of athletics as an extension of the classroom and the education process. For our students, a lot of our students, this is their pride and joy they look forward to, but there's a lot of lessons that they learn about life through athletics that they take also to the classroom and then afterwards. But it's been an honor for 25 years, both at Everett High School and Jackson High School, to represent Everett Public Schools, and then just hope I've done it to the best of my ability. And then I also just want to say thank you to my wife, who's sitting here, who's been through all 25 of those years. And for 3 months out of the year, she doesn't see me a whole lot. So thank you, Lori, for your support. Thank you for having me here. Appreciate it.
All right, well, that moves us on to section 7.0, the superintendent's report. Dr. Saltzman.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Board Directors, and to the public this evening. Congratulations to our students and to Kyle Peacock, who's also an amazing teacher in the classroom. Before I get into my report in detail, I just want to say a few things. One is I'd like to wish all districts tonight that are going for a bond or levy the best of luck. All kids deserve the best, and I hope that their tonight has great success for those districts that are going for a bond and levy. I also would like to call out the cabinet, and especially Larry Fleckenstein and Harmony Weinberg in communications, 2 new people in 2 new positions that did an outstanding job with the snow days, communicating to our public, communicating to me in the morning, and exceptional work by the cabinet. And I know the community was very pleased with our communication, so kudos to the entire team for the week of snow and weather that we had. So I just want to share that tonight. I'd like to give you my overview this evening on the superintendent's report. Tonight's going to focus on early learning and CT here in the Everett Public School system. Excuse me, I have a little cough. But I'd like to mention our P3 learning, early learning. More students are arriving at kindergarten at benchmark in all 6 Watt Kids domains in our district. I want to highlight tonight to our community the incredible work happening as we continue to close the gaps around access to quality earning learning programs for our entire community. These efforts are showing positive results for incoming kindergartners, which correlates to success in 3rd grade on the Smarter Balance assessments. You start early, you see results by 3rd grade. Launched January 29th at 5 elementary schools are transition to kindergarten. That is Monroe, Silver Lake, Tambar Creek, View Ridge, and Woodside. One of our quality learning programs is transition to kindergarten. We launched it this year, and we're serving 96 students across the district. We're also so happy to have these young learners with us. Just great to see them just coming in January like that. Our state data shows that students who attend transition to kindergarten outperform all other kindergarten students. I want to reiterate that with everybody, please. But we're looking forward to our kickoff to kindergarten. Our virtual event for families is coming. That webinar is taking place on February 25th, only 2 weeks away. Our goal is to enroll future kindergartens as early as possible, starting March 3rd, so they can participate in the important transition events. To reach more families, we're trying something new. We're advertising on Everett Transit buses, as you can see tonight. These ads will focus on areas where spring enrollment has traditionally been lower. We're going to get the word out to our community. Great education makes great community. We will continue spreading the word on social media and our website. So please tell anybody that you know with a kindergarten to register early. We want to see these youngsters. February is CTE month. Our CTE program gives students real-world skills for college and careers. We are very proud to offer these programs here in the Everett Public Schools. We recently had a highlight of our CTE fair of student ambassadors held on January 23rd. Our students ran this fair and they did an amazing job with our amazing CTE department. The event offered students and their families in grades 5 through 8 an engaging glimpse into the many options that are available. CT educators, our incredible student ambassadors, provide insight to various career pathways. Attendees participated in interactive sessions. They won prizes and discovered programs tailored to spark their interest. The fair not only highlighted the district's commitment to preparing students for future success, but also inspired many young minds to explore new educational and career possibilities. We look forward to these students joining the CTE program when they get to high school. We had over 500 youngsters with their families come that evening. That is great success. That's a measuring stick for our district. So I want to thank our incredible CTE teachers, staff, and community partners for your amazing work to support our students' success and future workforce participants. That concludes my report to the public this evening. Please stay safe out there, and thank you for all your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Saltzman. That moves us on to board comments. And Ms. Covarrubias, would you like to begin?
Sure. So today at Sequoia, we had a CTE day too, where we got to meet with industry professionals to talk about all different types of careers, and that was incredible. And I feel like that's something all schools should have, and especially seniors who might not know what to do after they graduate. And I also want to acknowledge how quickly we got the cancellation call and the late start update.
Thank you. Mr. Kink?
I'd like to say the same. I thought the snow days were really well timed. And the 2-hour delays versus the full delays were pretty according to how much snow there was on the ground and how the conditions were. And I'm sure all the other seniors are glad they don't have to make them up, but I hope everyone enjoyed their little snow break. And the second thing I'd like to mention today is that earlier there was an article written in the Seattle Times about test scores post-COVID. And the main focus was how many schools haven't recovered, or many districts haven't recovered in both math and English since the pandemic. But they highlighted Everett Public Schools as one of the few schools who has. As I'm sure you guys know, our test scores have recovered since the pandemic. And so I'd just like to give an appreciation to all the teachers and staff and workers in the district who made that possible.
Thank you for that. Mr. Elkins?
Not much to report from me. Just want to thank all the staff and teachers for all the work that went into the snow days and just making sure that we accommodated the inclement weather. And that's everything that I have to report.
You.
I don't have a report either. I just want to say thank you to the students who came here tonight and played such lovely music. It was just such talent. I'm just blown away. And the other recognitions, I always enjoy those as well. It just highlights everything great going on in our district. Really enjoy it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ovalinsky?
Okay. Since we last got together, I was able to partner with Dolly Ubriani, who is the advocacy chair of the Everett PTSA Council. And together we met Representatives Berg, Donahue, and staff for Senator Robinson. We told them about our legislative priorities and the bills that we support, including MSOC, special education, funding for substitute teachers, as well as the bond simple majority and deferment of the Clean Buildings Act compliance deadlines for school districts. She's really incredible. Shout out to Dolly Ubriani. She made me look good. She's good. I also would like to thank and recognize the Jackson Honors Chamber Orchestra. I kind of go deep preparing for these meetings, and I listened to that song a couple times beforehand, and it was flawless. I mean, it was incredible. Really, I'm just in a constant state of awe. And then finally, Friday is Valentine's Day. It's a big day, at least in elementary school. My youngest put a lot of time into her Valentines, especially with her crush. And Coach Peacock said it too, there's a lot that happens in schools that isn't education, that is really important developmentally. And so thank you. Thank you, everybody. That's it.
That's hard to beat things. I just wanted to report out one of my activities today. I had the chance to visit Cedarwood Elementary, the cafeteria, and see firsthand how composting was going. And students and lunchroom staff do have a great system there. If something doesn't go in the right container, the students had guidance and help in making sure things went where they were supposed to go. I spoke with Principal Allen and the main custodian, Taylor Olsoy, who was really overseeing the operation of the composting. And so just a shout out to Taylor and all of our custodians and lunchroom staff who are putting the composting into practice and not only helping the students learn how to do it, but also taking the time to teach them why we all are doing it. It was good to see, especially with our last board meeting, having heard from Food and Nutrition, that our schools serve over 2.5 million meals a year. So small changes on that big scale can make a big difference. So that was really neat to see today. I look forward to tonight's presentation.
Thank you so much. Mr. Kink, at dark 30 this morning, my daughter texted me the report from Boston and Harvard and said, Everett is a bright spot because she's a Jackson High grad. Then I got the Seattle Times News flash that showed that Dr. Bowden and Dr. Scott were both quoted. But then I did a little bit more research. Because Issaquah and Everett were both mentioned, Issaquah has a free and reduced lunch of about 12 to 14%. Everett's is at about 46% per the OSPI. So that's more than a 30% difference. We have worked for years to eliminate poverty as a predictor of educational success. And I think this report shows that even with the pandemic, our leadership here, the teachers, the paras, everyone that goes into teaching these kids, we're succeeding. And we continue to work towards that. And it's through the leadership on this board, our student reps, and everyone in this room that we have received this recognition. And so I just want to say thank you to everyone. But then on a lighter note, actually that was a good note, so on a different note, I really would like to thank the Jackson High basketball coaches and the players because we have really enjoyed the season. And I found out tonight they have a regional game on Saturday, so I texted my husband that we'll be there. But the Everett Herald showcased Everett P. Fogg, who is a student at Everett High, and commented about how he, turns his head every time the word Everett is said. At Jackson, one of the players is named Jackson Rape. So at the game last week, I was sitting next to his dad and talking about, Jackson playing at Jackson, and I mentioned that there's an Everett at Everett High. So he said, oh yeah, when his son first got recruited as a freshman for the basketball team, he posted on social media and it says Jackson on the front of his shirt, and all of his friends were like, that's so cool, he gets the name on the front of the jersey. So just something funny. And but it's fun that here in Everett we celebrate sports, we celebrate music, we celebrate academics, and just what a wonderful school district to serve. So thank you so much for everything everybody does. So that moves us on to public comment. Dr. Saltzman, are there any requests tonight?
There's none at this time, Madam Chair.
Thank you. That moves us on to the legislative updates. Director Rovolinski.
Okie dokie. Today is day 26 of the 2025 legislative session. Got a few updates on MSOC special education funding, substitute teacher, and the bond approvals. So for MSOC, Senate Bill 5192, which increases per student funding. The bill was heard in the Senate Ways and Means Committee just today. I'm not sure what happened. I just know it was planned for today. And in the House Bill 1338, which is again also on MSOC, was heard in the House Appropriations Committee on February 3rd, and is awaiting executive action. For special education, Senate Bill 5263, which has passed through the Senate Early Learning and K-12 Education Committee with amendments. That's where the multiplier was changed as it went through committee. They reduced the multiplier a little bit further, and the bill is scheduled to be in the Senate Ways and Means Committee today. House Bill 1357, another key bill for special education, with proposed increases in multipliers, was heard in the House Appropriations Committee, but they haven't voted on it yet. For substitute teacher funding, This is new. House Bill 1356 proposes funding adjustments for substitutes, increasing the daily rate to $200 for teachers and $150 for classified staff, and it gets inflation adjusted starting in 27-28. The bill was scheduled to be heard in the House Finance Committee meeting today, and then I just learned that the bills and House and Senate resolutions related to the simple majority that is, it's a proposed constitutional amendment to reduce the requirement to pass a school bond from 60% today to 50 or 55%, are going through committee on Thursday. All I got.
Thank you. We were talking sort of before the meeting how much our state is really looking at education and moving things forward, and just how thankful we are for what the state is doing right now. So fingers crossed. And the strong work of everybody that's advocating. This isn't just luck, this is strong work of everybody. That moves us on to the consent agenda. Dr. Saltzman, have you received any questions about a consent agenda item?
Thank you, Madam Chair. In the case of this consent agenda, the Superintendent's Office received no questions regarding the consent agenda.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Saltzman. First, does any director wish to remove an item from the consent agenda and place it in the new business section of the agenda? Seeing none, is there any objection to adopting the consent agenda by general consent? All right, seeing none again, the consent agenda is approved by general consent. That moves us on to section 12.0, strategic progress monitoring. Mr. Fleckenstein, I believe you're speaking to us about a sustainability update.
I learned that little hide trick from the last time. Well, good evening, President Mitchell, Board of Directors, Superintendent Saltzman, and student representatives. I'm really excited to be presenting to you tonight around our sustainability update, the first of two this year to the board, about our work to engage our Sustainability Advisory Council and the work within Everett Public Schools to promote and develop sustainable practices. The presentation tonight will review the district's sustainability work and efforts so far and engaging the Sustainability Advisory Council. It will also have an opportunity for the board's reflections after the presentation about observations around our sustainability efforts. Just to anchor for the public, the work of our Sustainability Advisory Council, in June 13th of 2023, the Board of Directors approved the commitment to sustainability. In tonight's presentation, the highlighted sections that you see there in yellow are focuses throughout this presentation about anchoring our work as a Sustainability Advisory Council in the actual language of the commitment to sustainability. So you'll see those operationalized as our work throughout tonight's presentation. Just a brief overview, the Sustainability Advisory Council, this is our second year of the council. We have 8 community members that are active participants on the council. We have 1 Jackson High School student who regularly participates and 6 administrators and then additional support staff depending on the presentations. So far this year we've had 2 meetings. The first was in October and the second was just last week on February 4th. We have 1 more coming up here in March. Just to briefly go over what our agendas were in the first 2 meetings. The first was a launch or celebration of the school year, the successes that we had and updates around sustainability practices that were accomplished over the summer. Then we went into an exploration around potential grant funding applications, what the board is, what the staff are doing to seek out other resources for sustainability and projects, composting update for our elementary launch, and then engaging the committee in actually how we can better message with our community around sustainability, doing an activity around reviewing our website and how we can improve it and its accessibility of information for the public. And then finally, we had our director of K-12 science education in partnership do a presentation on green schools, and we explored two major entities within the state of Washington that support green school efforts, and which one of those would best suit our needs as we continue to expand green teams in our schools. And then most recently, our second meeting was around updates around the composting contest that the board recognized students with, and then our electric bus grants. Updates around Clean Buildings Act and building codes. But the deep exploration that we did in this, and I'm going to go a little more detail into that, was around the Washington Sustainable Schools Protocol. It's a very specific checklist, if you will, that is attached to the school construction assistance funds, which is SCAP funds, as we've presented several times. You can't apply for SCAP funds unless you participate in the Washington Sustainable Schools Protocol. And I'll kind of briefly describe that in a minute, make that connection between school construction, funding, and sustainability. And then finally, we had them do a reflection about that learning, that activity around sustainability as we begin to engage this month our schools that are undergoing the EdSpecs process at Madison Elementary and Everett High School for their auditorium cafeteria remodel. So in the first meeting, we started off with some celebrations, some of which the board has seen at this point, so I will be brief, which is the phase one of Jackson High School's Clean Buildings Act HVAC upgrades. And then the work that we've been done over the summer at Cascade High School, specifically and Eisenhower. We also explored and celebrated work that is coming up, which would be phase two of Jackson High School's HVAC upgrades. Also board approved for this summer, Evergreen, Heatherwood, and Gateway Middle Schools HVAC upgrades for Clean Buildings Act. But we also talked a little bit about sustainability and how it relates to Jackson Elementary School. And so the board's capital projects update that was just at the end of January, we connected the committee into understanding how the development of Jackson Elementary with the new codes will include, by law, require us to put in 7 EV charging stations at Jackson Elementary. We will also have the building designed and ready for solar panels. And that grant funding to look how we bring those solar panels and connect them is one of our major sustainability projects coming up. But then also we talked a little bit about the building envelopes and what that really means. And just to give you a brief definition of building envelope, it's what keeps the outside out and the inside in around your home. So, and then we went into some of the work that's almost complete at this point, which is 11 EV charging stations are almost fully installed at our bus facility, our North Bus facility. And the picture on the right that you see is what one of those actual charging stations look like. And then we celebrated a little bit about being awarded a grant for 3 new electric buses that will be in our fleet starting in the fall. The next phase that we're looking forward to and talked about in the advisory was the audits that are required by the Clean Buildings Act for us to identify the 8 more schools that we'll be bringing into the program, and then building the energy management plan for those buildings that are in Tier 1 and Tier 2, and then the square footage requirements of what defines Tier 1 and Tier 2 is up there on the screen. At this point in our first meeting, we did talk about the launch of elementary composting, and that was very exciting. One of the things that the committee engaged on was how can we get the secondary schools, which will be a little more challenging, to engage in composting ahead of time. And it was for the result of actually the conversation of the Sustainability Advisory Council that came up with the idea for maybe a video contest. So that's where that recognition came from. And it was a lot of fun. And I really do appreciate the board taking the time to recognize those students for that contest back in January. One of the major things about composting now is we are beginning to work with our service who actually collects the composting and is measuring and recording the data about how much is being composted, how much they're receiving, how much from each site, and then our continued work and progress monitoring to ensure that our students, as was mentioned earlier, continue to learn and make that a habit within our schools to get the maximum benefit of our composting program. The review of our webpage at the first meeting was really to say, how can we make more visible the work of the Sustainability Advisory Council, but also the major work that's going on in the district that may be unseen? And from their feedback, this is just an example, we ended up changing the layout and the quick links on the webpage, sustainability webpage, to be a little more current and to be able to provide the most up-to-date information. Very similar to other websites in our capital facilities program, we ended up creating a link, and that's the yellow one that's highlighted there, is to make our presentations and the information that's being shared and all the hyperlinks that you'll see in tonight's presentation available for the public. So if they're not a part of the council, they can easily go to the same information that we're sharing, because one of the pieces that we're at right now in sustainability is some of the more easy things to kind of pick off, we've made great progress on. But now we're entering a phase where some of the heavier lifting does require a lot more thinking and a lot more resources to pull off. And so we want to make sure that we are providing the information for everybody about what does it take for us to get to that next major phase of sustainability within the district. And then finally, our Director of K-12 Science, and in partnership with the Everett PTSA, did that exploration activity around green schools and what sort of a partnership would exist between the Everett PTSA and our academics department to move forward the support of green teams, because green teams need support at the local level to make them fly. Just saying we're going to do it is not enough. You need the support at the local level to actually make it an authentic experience for kids, but also to make it something that can, for lack of a better term, sustain its involvement. So we'll be getting an update on this particular topic in our next meeting from that same team. So now I'm going to flash forward a little bit into some more technical pieces, okay? So as a former science teacher, I was really excited to have this meeting just last week around sustainability. And the focus of our meeting was to really delve into what is unseen in Everett Public Schools around sustainability efforts, which is the regulations and practices that we adhere to, that we follow, and that guide the construction work of modernizing or building new facilities to meet what are very extensive codes in the state of Washington around sustainability and environmental consciousness. And then we asked the committee to give us feedback based on what their learning was about how we can incorporate the same level of experience and engagement in our EdSpec processes at the projects that are about to start this month. So just to give a little context, what we did is we talked about 3 levels of sustainability in building design and operation. The first level is about behavior changes, so composting is a great one to that. Dimming, light dimmers on and off when you come out of rooms, LED bulbs, those are all level 1 sort of practices that really help us to reduce energy usage, but don't take a whole lot of thought or practice, right? Then level 2 gets a little more substantial, and as we've been sharing with the board, a great example of that is the Clean Buildings Act. That's where we're actually upgrading HVAC systems for heating and cooling that conserve energy because of their energy efficiency and just modernized technology. And finally, we talked about level 3, which is substantial improvements that actually have the greatest impact on energy conservation and savings. So those would be examples following the new state codes of construction would be like energy efficient windows, air and moisture barriers, insulation, and the way that we construct the exterior envelope or the outside of buildings specifically. So some examples of level 1 practices you see here, and I mentioned 2 of them. One is composting. The one in the middle there is LED lighting and fixtures. And then on the right, which people kind of forget about, which is a huge sustainable practice to reduce plastic waste in Everett Public Schools, is our water bottle filling stations that we've been implementing over time in each of our schools. Level 2 sustainable system replacements, just to kind of give a practical idea, when I say HVAC upgrades, there's actually 3 components to that besides the duct work you think of in a school. The one on the left is a fluid cooler that serves Cascade High School's Building 2. This unit rejects excess heat to the atmosphere that is created when the heat pumps turn on to cool the school. So how do you get rid of that excess heat to cool the school? When you pull it out of the air, you got to send it somewhere, and it sends it outside. The second one in the middle is a picture of the 2 new boilers at Cascade High School, which produce the hot water that circulates in our buildings to then heat them. And then finally, the third one, which is a part of the puzzle, is a photo that was taken during winter break at Jackson High School when 2 new chiller units were added as a part of the Phase 1 HVAC upgrade to the school to comply with the Clean Buildings Act. A chiller produces cold water that is circulated to condition the air to cool down the interior of the building. So all 3 of those, chillers, coolers, and boilers, that's how we get heat in and out of the schools. So just a little practical idea there. So the next example we talked about in practicality with the advisory was understanding level 3 design, right? So next, we highlighted 2 level 3 sustainable designs. The first is here on the left-hand side. The first has to do with how school design and construction mitigates the impact of stormwater runoff on the environment. The Department of Ecology stormwater codes require that all stormwater at a newly constructed facility be retained on site and metered into the local municipal stormwater system. On the left is a photo of what's underneath the main parking lot at Tambar Creek. You can't see it now, but if you see a manhole cover, that's how you get into all that. To meet the code requirements, the district installed approximately 3,100 linear feet of 8-foot diameter corrugated metal pipe under the parking lot. So when you see the little yellow and orange dots there, those are people standing. That's how big they are. This metering, the runoff that enters our rivers and streams, reduces the negative impact of a large sudden volume of water runoff that may have an impact on our ecosystem. So imagine when it rains really heavy, if we don't reduce the flow, all that just rushes into the ecosystems, the aquatic ecosystems, and it can just take all the nutrients and just wipe it out. So that was the purpose of that. So we talked about that level 3. What's that level 3 sort of sustainability practice in construction? The next is our second example that we shared with the advisory that the Washington State Energy and Building Codes require for new buildings to have a continuous exterior insulation system or envelope. On the right is a photo of Tambar Creek when it was under construction of its exterior envelope. And that is an example of a high-performing envelope system. In short, these systems reduce heat transfer to maintain a more stable internal environment. So I'm going to explain just really briefly what that is and what it does. So, for example, when we talk about thermal transfer or heat transfer, imagine that this ceramic cup is the exterior of buildings that were created before 2010. When you put hot water in a cup like this and you put your hands on it, you can feel the hotness, right? Okay, that's really bad energy transfer. It's not good for cooling buildings or keeping them warm, right? Stuff's going in and out. But then you think of our modern technology that we have, and you can put boiling water in this thing and you can't even tell it's boiling inside. That's an example of that new exterior envelope that's on Tambar Creek. What's really exciting about it is the Jackson Elementary School replacement that will break ground this spring will also have a continuous exterior insulation system that is now required by code. So as we replace and modernize our building, we have the opportunity to save energy and reduce energy consumption because of the new materials and technology. We expect to see similar energy efficiency in Jackson Elementary School as we see in Tambar Creek, and eventually Madison Elementary School when it undergoes its construction. So the activity that we engaged with the advisory was to actually go through a series of codes and laws, just to give them the background, and those hyperlinks will actually take you there if you're interested. But we went through the Washington Sustainable Schools Protocol. What this is on the right-hand side of the screen is the protocol itself. You can actually go see every single item in school construction that gives you points towards reading the 66-point minimum to be eligible for SCAP funding for a project. So you cannot apply for SCAP funding. You can't even start the process until you've gone through this, and the designs actually incorporate at least 66 points. There's over 200 and some odd items on this checklist, but you have to get a point total that goes all the way up to 66 or better. And as the program has evolved, the point totals continue to go higher. So you have to meet a higher threshold year after year after year. So it's the way that school construction nowadays is actually engaged directly within sustainability because it's getting us to design buildings that are more energy efficient, and aware of its impacts on resources and the environment. So I had mentioned the envelope at Tambar Creek as just one of those things that when we talk about a sustainability protocol is one of those major measures that conserves energy. So what's the impact of that sort of work on energy conservation? So we shared this with the Sustainability Advisory Council. And this is the real data that tells us, kind of connects Clean Buildings Act to exterior envelopes and school construction and how it conserves energy. So on the left-hand side, the vertical axes, you see, which is the energy use index, which is basically that measure of how much energy is used per square foot per year in the buildings. And then on the x-axis, you see the different full construction of our newest buildings there for elementary. So Monroe was a complete rebuild, View Ridge was a complete rebuild, and so was obviously Tambar Creek. And just from 2012 to 2019, and the implementation of new codes in those successive years that you can see down below in orange, you can see that energy consumption or use by buildings based on its design around sustainable practices dramatically drops, which means saving energy resources, but also is essential for us to make better and better buildings that make the best use of the resources that we have here in the district. The elementary school average that you see on the left-hand side of the elementary school graph is all the other elementaries combined, their average in energy usage. So as you can see, when we've successively built new elementary schools, this new technology saves more energy. North Middle School is our most recently new build school with these energy codes in mind. And you can see compared to the other 4 middle schools' energy consumption, North Middle School is significantly below that average. So the opportunity, the gap that we have is that we can continue to create savings over time, not only to comply with just the red dashed line of the Clean Buildings Act, which is a right now state requirement by law to meet, but also we can go even beyond that and conserve more energy than the law is requiring us through the Clean Buildings Act to allow, based on the designs that we do that are sustainable in nature and intentionally designed that way. So when we think the cumulative effect, when we think of the levels, the 3 levels of sustainable practices, what was the big takeaway for the advisory? Not only the work in Everett Public Schools that we do in building, construction, and design, but what has the greatest impact? And so while all 3 of them are essential, and we should do all 3 of them to conserve energy, what's most important is that level 3 has the greatest overall impact on energy conservation. We'll continue, of course, to do level 1 and 2s because it's the right thing to do, but level 3 has the greatest energy savings. So when we have those opportunities to build new schools or to renovate older buildings, taking the opportunity to upgrade them is essential. So just to look ahead, in our next meeting, really excited, they're super excited by the way, we are going to experience what we've been talking about. Everybody's talked about electric buses, they're very excited to get more electric buses. We are committed to reducing our use of fossil fuels here in Everett Public Schools in our fleet. We no longer have any diesel buses, but now any opportunity we can to replace our buses that aren't using gasoline, we try to take those opportunities. So we're going to take them on a little ride up to the North Bus facility to actually see those charging stations that you're looking at there and get an idea about what does it really take when we talk about grants and we talk about how far that money goes. How much money does it actually take to do this sort of work, and try to contextualize what people are very excited about, which is getting grants, but how far does it really take you financially to do these projects? Because we want a practicality and sustainability in the district that, yes, we want to do sustainable practices, but we also have to run the organization fiscally sound and be good fiscal stewards of the public money. We're also going to talk about sustainability and purchasing. That's a new work that the fiscal department is doing to be a part of a consortium or a group of districts that are sharing sustainable purchasing practices. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to get a Green Teams Act update. And then we're going to talk about what's the goals for next year relative to the sustainability commitment. where are we going to go with that, and how can the advisory best help the district to improve its practices? So I thank you for your patience through this presentation. It was long, but I'll take any questions.
Oh, that was great. So any questions or comments?
Thank you.
Yeah, Director Herman?
Oh, just, yeah, huge thank you. It was fantastic. And the videos from the last meeting, loved seeing what students were producing, hearing their thought process and just seeing the engagement with that. And also the website. I think you all have done a great job in making that, because that's one thing we've been talking about for a while, is this is the type of work that goes on, but it's mostly behind the scenes and maybe not visible. And so what is Everett Public Schools doing? How do we get that out to show all of this work? And so really well done. I think knowing that we're going to have an update in the spring, I'll pretty much leave it there. I just am really impressed with the work, and I'm excited to see where this is going to go. We're hearing a lot about Clean Buildings Act and the costs associated with that. And I know the new standards they're going to start rolling out the tier 1 for buildings that are above 220 square feet. That's 2026. And so all of this is sort of coming due in the next few years, but just really well done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Director Mason?
Yeah, I just want to continue on that line. A great presentation. There was a lot of information here I haven't ever seen before. And I was just reflecting on back a couple years ago, really at, I think maybe the suggestion of Director Herman of, we really need to start looking at sustainability a little bit more closely. And in that short amount of time, I just am really impressed with how it has all come together. I know we were doing some of this before. The Clean Buildings Act kind of pushed it a little bit, but to see it all in one place like this, the advisory council, really the focus on it. It's not academics, but it's really important. School districts are huge consumers of energy, running buses and big buildings. And so it is, the Clean Buildings Act's frustrating because it didn't come with funding, but I also want to say a shout out to our community who is helping us fund these initiatives so that we can do the right thing, because it really is. And it's demonstrating to our students what the right thing is, and they can learn and grow with us. So thank you for taking this on and doing such a great job.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions, students? I have 2 questions. For the 7 charging stations we have to put in at Jackson, is electricity free, or do people have to pay to use those?
Just to be really brief on the code,
Yeah.
it requires us, based on the size of the building that we're building, that we have to put in a certain number of electric charging stations. Those are not intended for Everett Public School staff to use. They would be metered, where anybody could come up, kind of like you've seen maybe at a major shopping mall or whatever, and you can scan your card and then plug in your thing. So they will be accessible to the community, and it's not intended to just be used only by the district.
Yeah, well, it was the community using them for free, like, taking our power that we're paying for.
Nope.
Yeah, thank you for that. And I want to also recognize your show and tell, because I think show and tell is always better, that I've always I'm a continuous tea drinker. Even at home, I started using my Yeti cup at home because when I have it in my porcelain cup, if I'm reading a book, by the time I get down, it's cold. In my Yeti cup, it stays warm for hours. So it is that, thank you for that show and tell. And then last thing, because I think I might be channeling a little bit of Roman here, but how do we balance the cost of the green versus the energy savings and versus the right thing? And so is there an equation, or is there like a breaking point that we can't go that far because the savings isn't enough, even if it is the right thing? Like, how do we balance that?
Yeah,
If it can be brief.
I think being very early on in the second year of Sustainability Advisory Council, and then, like I said, getting an update on sustainable practices, coming up, an update from our financial department. That's where we're really needing to go into, because we know that some sustainability practices are an investment. Actually, the return on investment wouldn't be as high as the initial investment is, or it takes a lot of years to get that investment back. And I think as stewards of the public money, we always have to weigh that investment versus its return. And And so without giving just a, here's the number, or, a carte blanche answer, that's part of the process that the commitment to sustainability statement talks about, is decision-making around procurement. And that's where we really need to go to kind of set up where are those parameters for that are practical but make good use of our public's money.
Thank you. That's exactly what just the thoughtfulness and that balancing of public money. So thank you. Any other final questions or comments? Okay, thank you so much. That moves us on to section 12.02, dual language program update. Dr. Bowden, or whoever, that's what's in my list, but if somebody else is introducing, I don't want to, sorry.
No, that's totally fine. Good evening, Board of Directors, President Mitchell, Dr. Salzman. I'd actually like to introduce Chris Fulford, who is the Director of Categorical Programs, and he will be presenting with Erica Velasco, one of our facilitators in the Multilingual Learner Program, on the dual language programs we have in Everett Public Schools.
Thank you.
All right. Good evening, Board of Directors, student representatives, President Mitchell, and Dr. Saltzman. We just want to thank you so much for having us here tonight to provide you an update on our dual language program. We're very excited about this program and the progress that we are making with it as we continue to grow the program through Emerson Elementary and geared towards the launch of Silver Lake Elementary next year. So tonight, our goal is to provide you with a comprehensive update and around the current status of our dual language program and the impacts this program is having on the community, specifically at Emerson Elementary, and then again, the exciting opportunity we're going to have to launch at Silver Lake next year, and the following year, launching our middle school program at Evergreen. So we want to start out by just grounding ourselves in the data and the why behind why we have decided to do this dual language program. And this is a famous study done by Thomas and Collier that highlights the importance of the dual language program. And so you can see here the top bar here represents the two-way dual language program, which is what we have here in Everett Public Schools. And what this shows is that the students, as they are taking assessments, they actually, by the time they're in the 5th grade, start to surpass their monolingual peers in English-only classrooms as they develop both languages in Spanish and in English. And so we have chosen to do this program because we know this is the strongest way to close the achievement gap for our Spanish-speaking students, and we're excited about the opportunity we have to test our students this year as they move into the 3rd grade and will begin taking the SBA. And so as we move into our 3rd grade year with our students this year and moving into the SPA, we wanted to just share with you some of our 3rd grade students that are going to read a poem to you. And what this is showcasing is the power of them learning 2 languages and the way that it brings the cultures together, celebrates their backgrounds. And so we want you to see how confidently they read this poem in both English and in Spanish, and see the power behind the languages that they're learning and how they are learning them together.
My name is Christian, and I'm going to be saying the power of being bilingual. El poder de ser bilingüe. My name is Julian, and I will be reading the power of being bilingual. El poder de ser bilingüe. In my heart, 2 worlds collide, 2 voices, 2 cultures live inside. At school, I learned to read and write. In Spanish and English, I find my light. En mi corazón los mundos chocan, 2 voces, 2 culturas se tocan. En la escuela Aprendo a leer y escribir en inglés y en español. Empiezo a vivir. I speak to my teacher with confidence and pride. In Spanish, I share what I hold inside. At home, I laugh with my family in English. 2 languages shaping dreams I'll accomplish. Hablo con mi maestra con orgullo y verdad. En español comparto mi realidad. En casa río con mi familia en inglés, 2 idiomas que forman mi interés. I am not divided, I am complete. 2 languages make my soul unique. With every word I break down walls. Bilingual power makes me stand tall. No soy 2 mitades, soy un ser entero. 2 idiomas hacen mi alma un lucero. Con cada palabra rompo barreras. El poder bilingüe me lleva a donde quiera. I carry 2 worlds wherever I go. The stories I tell, the things I know. Spanish and English, a gift so rare. A bridge between cultures, a treasure I share. Llevo 2 mundos donde yo esté. Las historias que cuento, lo que puedo ver. Español e inglés, un regalo especial, un puente entre culturas, mi orgullo total.
Sorry.
Always hard to go video back to slide.
Yes. Sorry.
Somebody's coming up to help.
All right, there we go. We got it. All right, sorry about that. So again, with that video, it's exciting to see as we had 2 students, one who was predominantly an English-speaking student, and the other predominantly, or home language Spanish, and how they were able to share this poem together. And you can see the development of both languages as these students have progressed through the program, and starting in kindergarten and now in the 3rd grade.
Good evening. This diagram highlights the essential components of the dual language program, key elements such as staffing, professional development, curriculum, assessment and accountability, program structure, family and community, and resources, all contribute to effective instruction, which leads to positive student outcomes like bilingualism, biliteracy, high academic achievement, and cultural competency. Here, we emphasize the foundational pillars of our dual language program. The first pillar is bilingualism and biliteracy. Students develop the ability to speak, understand, read, and write in both languages. The second pillar is high academic achievement, and the third pillar is social-cultural competence. Together, these pillars lead to greater equity and social justice by affirming students' languages and cultures, breaking down barriers, and opening doors to a more inclusive and equitable global society. This table outlines our dual language model. In kinder and 1st grade, students receive 90% of their instruction in Spanish and 10% in English. Starting in 2nd grade, the ratio shifts to 80% in Spanish and 20% in English. By 5th grade, students are in a 50-50 model.
In 6th through 12th grade, the ratio changes again to a 40-60, in which 40% of the instruction, at least 40% of the instruction will be taught in Spanish and 60% in English. This bar graph shows the current enrollment of our dual language program, highlighting the number of students in each grade. The graph also shows the program's growth since its implementation in 2021. As you can see, in 2021, we added 3 kindergarten classrooms at Emerson Elementary School. In 2022, we added an additional 3 first grade classrooms. In 2023, 3 second grade classrooms, and this school year we added 3 third grade classrooms as well. And you can see that enrollment is very consistent. This timeline outlines the strategic growth and expansion of our dual language program. Next year, Emerson will be adding 4th grade, and Silver Lake will be launching kindergarten. So they will be adding 2 kindergarten classrooms. The following school year, Emerson will be adding 5th grade, and Silver Lake will be adding 1st grade. Silver Lake will continue to add a grade level each coming school year. And in 2027, we'll be launching 6th grade at Evergreen Middle School, which is very exciting. And by 2030, Cascade will launch 9th grade. We will celebrate the graduation of our first cohort in 2034. By 8th grade, our students will receive the Washington State Seal of Biliteracy, which recognizes students who have attained proficiency in more than one language. So far, the class of 2024 has received 161 seals this year. And we have 2 key committees focused on supporting our dual language program. We have the Dual Language Task Force and the Dual Language Parent Advisory Board. The Dual Language Task Force is responsible for maintaining and supporting the 2-way dual language program by using the master plan to guide its implementation. And the Dual Language Parent Advisory Board works to build strong partnerships between parents and educators by collaborating to identify and implement initiatives that enhance bilingual education and enrich the school community. Next, you will be watching a video featuring 2 Cascade High School students. Maria Rodriguez y Juan Arias Reyes. They are members of the Dual Language Task Force. They will be sharing their personal motivation for joining the task force and also the impact they believe the program is going to have on future generations. The video is in Spanish, but the subtitles are in English.
Hola, mi nombre es María, soy junior en Cascade y decidí formar parte del comité bilingüe porque me parece muy importante cómo esto puede ayudar a estudiantes a comunicarse con personas de diferentes culturas y aprender nuevas cosas de ellos, sin importar de dónde vengan. También porque tengo hermanos que pueden beneficiarse de este. Creo que este programa puede ayudar a expandir el conocimiento de los estudiantes acerca de personas de diferentes culturas y también mejorar cómo se comunican con personas de diferentes entornos y generar una comunidad y unidad entre todos ellos.
Hola, mi nombre es Juan David Arias y voy a responder a las preguntas acerca del comité bilingüe. Decidí formar parte del comité del programa bilingüe principalmente por el amor que tengo hacia mi idioma. Como hispanohablante me siento profundamente orgulloso de mis raíces y tradiciones y como colombiano quisiera representar de alguna forma a mi país. De igual forma, quise hacer parte por el hecho de que en lo personal fue complicado poder aprender el idioma inglés no teniendo ningún apoyo constante. Y el poder tener la oportunidad de ayudar a las personas que posiblemente pasen por cosas parecidas a las mías me llena de felicidad y de orgullo. Para las ventajas que creo que el programa puede tener en futuras generaciones, creo que puede haber muchas en general. Sin embargo, y principalmente, diría que es una oportunidad para poder expandir no solo los conocimientos, sino también barreras, como lo puede ser la del idioma. Es la oportunidad perfecta para futuras generaciones de usar el idioma como objeto no solo de paz, sino también de comprensión. Por lo último, en lo personal llevo 1 año en Estados Unidos y estoy seguro de que este programa puede ayudar a muchas personas y a muchas familias, en especial a la mía. Tengo una hermana, mi hermana mayor, la cual puede ser una beneficiada por este programa bilingüe en un futuro, para que pueda viajar acá o para que pueda viajar a otro lugar y así pueda usar el idioma inglés de una forma adecuada. Muchas gracias por escuchar.
All right. So that's just a great opportunity we have just to feature some of the students that serve, or 2 of the students that serve on our committee. The fantastic thing about these students serving on the committee is that we encourage them to speak in their native language during the committee meeting. And for those who are communicating with them, we use some of the translation devices that we have available here through the language acquisition program. And so that students and parents both can communicate in their native language and feel that we are elevating the Spanish language as we are continuing to grow the program. In the last week, we were featured in the Everett Herald, our dual language program, and several parents were interviewed on the impact that program is having on their kids. And we just wanted to showcase some of the things that were shared during that meeting we had with the reporter. And so we had parents sharing things like that now her child can read and write in Spanish. And this is a family with a student who's in the 3rd grade program. Their favorite part of the program, one of the students said, is that they can learn new things and have a lot more friends because they can communicate with them on the playground. So our families are really experiencing a lot of fantastic opportunities for their students to not only grow in their knowledge of more than one language, but they're also learning about the culture and how we can all work together as a part of one community. As we continue to grow the program, one of the things we're monitoring is our parents' understanding of the program, their needs for the program, and trying to respond to those things. And as we've highlighted, or as we've surveyed our parents, some of the feedback that we've received from our parents, really around the pride in the program and in their culture, that the program has helped their child connect in their home language and traditions, and that they feel proud to be bilingual. One of the things we know with this program is that students enrolled in this program have a higher rate of graduation, especially for our Spanish-speaking students. And so having our families already reflecting that their students are taking pride in their home language and their culture is really exciting to see. Another family highlighted that their entire family is learning Spanish together. In fact, this parent in particular serves on our committee and communicates in Spanish during the meetings with our rest of our families. So we're watching this program continue to grow and see how our children are growing with the program. Through the parent survey, we also receive feedback on things that they need in order to better support their child. And so some of the things that we see are access to more learning materials, community and family engagement, tools for teaching and reading and math, but both in Spanish and English. These are all very similar to what we're hearing from our families in our traditional English-only classrooms. And so as we see these, we're encouraged that we can provide resources for our families, just like we provide in many of our other classrooms. And so as we have moved through our surveys and we are responding to the survey data that we've received from our parents, we are providing resources to model how to use online tools that we do provide for our dual language program. We're offering parenting classes that focus on these strategies for supporting reading and math in both languages. And we're continuing to host interactive evenings where our families engage in games with one another, learning about each other's languages and cultures as we foster these community engagement events. We're very excited about this program and the continued growth. We're excited about the opportunity for Silver Lake to have the same experience that we're seeing at Emerson as this program is continuing to grow and flourish with that community. Thank you so much for having us tonight. Do you have any questions?
Yeah, thank you so much, and I do appreciate the program at Emerson. So any questions? Yes, Director.
Thanks so much for this work. I was wondering, could you go back to slide 8? Now that it's going to be expanding to a second school, I was just thinking about the enrollments and the applications that have come through, and it's adding 63 classrooms each year. As you had mentioned, very low attrition. It seems that families have really stuck with the program, which is fantastic. I think this has come up before, but I couldn't remember. It's about a 50-50 home language Spanish, home language English.
Correct.
Are the applications coming in, are they fairly balanced? Is there one side that that we're seeing more from and has to go on a wait list? And then the other question around that is, how many come from the homeschool of Emerson is their homeschool? And would we expect to see that also at Silver Lake? So just around sort of the enrollment and the numbers.
Yeah, so we're excited. Kindergarten enrollment will kick off just in March 3rd, just like we're seeing with the rest of our kindergarten, and families will have the opportunity. So we don't have our kindergarten numbers yet for how it's coming in, but as the program has grown and we've added a cohort each year, we are seeing, because Emerson is our largest population of Spanish-speaking students, we do see a lot of families opting into that program, through Emerson, and so that does make up a large portion of that 50% native Spanish speakers. That doesn't mean that's the only students that are attending. As the knowledge of this program has spread amongst the district, we are receiving more and more inquiries from families to join the program that are attending other neighboring schools. And with the launch of Silver Lake, we are receiving very positive feedback from families in the central and south end of the school district to be a part of the program. So we're excited to see what the cohort looks like this March when we start receiving the applications for the program.
Are we staying flexible on the number of classrooms depending on the number of applications? Are we aiming for 3
As
classrooms?
of right now, we're aiming for 2 classrooms at Silver Lake, at Silver Lake, and a lot of that has to do with the space constraints of that building. But we are anticipating 2 classrooms per grade level as it moves up through the building.
Fantastic, thanks.
Any other questions or comments? I just have one question, because I saw the opening of Evergreen, but Silver Lake doesn't traditionally go to Evergreen, but we have 6 years to get there, so presuming something will open up at Eisenhower when it gets closer? Or
No.
or will those kids, if they want to continue, be transported up to Evergreen?
Correct, yes.
Okay.
Evergreen will be our middle school program, and then Cascade will be our high school program.
Okay, just a question, because some kids, in future talk, but it is, since we don't traditionally bus kids for choice, we will bus for program. So is that, would dual language be considered a program that they'd be bused, or just something to keep in mind for the next 6 years?
Yeah, I think our plan right now is that it will be a program, and so we will be looking to transport our students to that so that we encourage them to stay in the program and we remove barriers from them to
Yeah,
be able
that's,
to move
especially because a
through.
high-poverty school, to make it choice.
Correct, yeah.
Oh, thank you.
And I just want to make sure you're aware, we actually do bus for choice. We bus for our CTE choice programs at
Okay.
the high school.
Okay.
And we've found some great success for that, for people busing from, whether it's Jackson and Everett for the advanced manufacturing program at Cascade, or to the NJROTC program at Everett High School, or to the health careers program at Everett High School. So we do bus for choice, and that's our plan here as well.
Thank you. Thank you for that, just to eliminate a barrier.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? No, I'm so excited for Silver Lake next year. So thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
That moves us on to section 13.0, information and discussion. It's the December 2024 financial report, and I believe Ms. Buckman, you will be presenting tonight. Jared's going to come up and help you find their.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I was just going to turn around.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We don't expect everybody that presents to be pros at doing this. Thank you.
Perfect, thank you. Okay. Thank you, Board of Directors, Dr. Salzman, President Mitchell, and student representatives. Tonight, I am presenting the December financial update for the 2024-25 fiscal year. Does the down arrow not work? Okay, thank you. This presentation will include summary information regarding the district's general fund, its main operating fund, enrollment, revenues, expenditures, and fund balance. In addition, we will review the district's 4 other comprehensive funds: the district's capital projects fund, debt service fund, associated student body fund, and transportation vehicle fund. Additionally, tonight's consent agenda also includes a December financial report, which has additional details and information for your reference. Now reviewing the district's general fund. We will first discuss enrollment, as enrollment drives over 60% of the district's general fund revenues. The graph presented represents the monthly student FTE, or full-time equivalent enrollment, for this year and the prior 2 years. Student FTE differs from the enrollment that is typically talked about, which is student headcount. Student headcount is the total number of students enrolled on each count day. Student FTE represents the actual time each enrolled student is scheduled. The September through June annual average student FTE determines how the district is funded. Now reviewing monthly revenue patterns and projected revenues for the remainder of the year. The graph presented represents monthly revenues for this year and the prior 2 years. Revenues are following typical patterns from prior years. January revenues are preliminary but do reflect actual enrollment versus the prior month's revenues reflecting budgeted enrollment. In addition, most state and federal grant awards have been finalized. Projected revenues have also been updated to include an increase in the anticipated safety net award. As you will see on the next slide when I discuss expenditures, we are anticipating increased expenditures in the district's special education programs, primarily due to an increased number of students going to contract schools, more students with IEPs moving into the district, and a general increase in the level of behavior supports post-pandemic. This is something we are seeing across the state. As such, we do believe the district's safety net claim will be larger than our original budget, which was the amount of last year's claim. We reviewed overall anticipated costs that will be safety net eligible and assessed a conservative assumption for the safety net increase. Now reviewing general expenditures. The graph presented shows the monthly expenditure trends for this year and the prior 2 years. These trends typically fluctuate based on timing of payments. For example, some months the district has 5 weeks to process payments to vendors, and some months the district has 4 weeks to process vendor payments. Expenditure projections are within authorized appropriations, but higher than last month's projection, primarily due to the increase in the special education program. Staffing expenditures continue to be lower than budgeted, primarily driven by vacancy savings and staffing alignment during the first 8 days of school, while materials, supplies, and operating costs are trending higher than budget. With the changes to revenue and expenditure projections, the fund balance for the general fund is anticipated to be higher than the district's budget, but a slight decline from November projections. The graph represents monthly fund balance trends for the district's general fund following typical patterns, with an increase in October due to local levy collections. Now, looking at the district's 4 other comprehensive funds, I will first discuss the Capital Projects Fund. The graph represents the monthly fund balance for this year and the prior 2 years. The Capital Projects Fund supports major capital and technology projects, which include replacement and modernization of buildings, one-to-one devices and life cycle management, building upgrades, and roofing projects. The Jackson Elementary project is currently underway, and there are significant costs remaining. As the work begins to wrap up, we will begin to see the fund balance decline. Capital Projects Fund expenditures fluctuate due to the timing of projects throughout the year. The Debt Service Fund supports the principal and interest payments of the district's outstanding bonds. As there are currently no new authorized or voter-approved bonds, the fund balance for the Debt Service Fund will continue to decline. The remaining outstanding bond balance is $66.5 million, and the fund balance is sufficient to support the remaining debt. The Associated Student Body Fund supports student activities and athletics. The graph represents the monthly fund balance for this year and the prior 2 years. During the fall, the ASB fund will increase, and as the year progresses, the balance will decline. This is due to ASB card sales, yearbook sales, and other fundraisers at the beginning of the school year. This year's fund balance is following past trends. The Transportation Vehicle Fund balance as of December is just shy of $473,000, providing the capacity to purchase buses. Currently, we have 2 on order, and we anticipate receiving them this year. The state revenue in this fund is based on the aging schedule of the district-owned bus fleet. The remainder of the district transportation costs is supported through the general fund as the district contracts out its busing services. And thank you.
Great job filling in tonight.
Thank you.
Any questions or comments? Director?
That was awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
There, we made it painless for you. All right. Well, that moves us on to section 14.0, unfinished business. There is none for this meeting. And then section 15.0, new business, which is the appointment of a board representative to the Student Representative Selection Committee. So annually, the appointment of a board member to the selection committee for a new student representative to the board of directors is presented for approval. The student this year will be selected from Cascade per our rotation of schools, as we will graduate Mr. Kink at the end of the school year. We each serve on this committee on a rotation. Director Adkins, it is your turn. Would you like to accept the appointment of the committee?
Yes, I would.
Great. Is there anyone else that might want to take a turn? It is his turn, but want to leave it open? Okay, great. Is there any discussion? Then is there any objection to this nomination of Director Adkins as a representative to the Student Representative Committee by general consent? Seeing none, this action is approved by general consent, and thank you, Director Adkins. That moves us, so that moves us on to section 16.0, upcoming agenda items. Dr. Saltzman, what do we have scheduled?
Thank you, Madam Chair. By the way, hearing that, Will, you might be graduating soon. Wow, time is going really fast. Thank you. At the February 14th special meeting, directors will attend the Volunteers of America Rise and Shine Breakfast. At the February 20th special meeting, directors will attend the Strategic Progress Monitoring Session number 2. At the February 27th special meeting, directors will attend the Elementary Art Show Open House. At our regular meeting on March 11, 2025, that agenda contains the following: a recognition of the Everett PTSA Council, a recognition for the core value champions for the value of passion, a career and tech ed program update, the enrollment outlook, the January financial report, and surplus of technology and electronics. Thank you, Madam Chair and Board of Directors.
Thank you. So that moves us to section 17.0, executive or closed session. There is none for this meeting. Section 18.0 adjournment. This concludes the February 11, 2025 regular meeting of the Everett Public Schools Board of Directors. This meeting is now adjourned.